Cool. So as we're looking at this stuff, we're talking about this, proportional relationships. We're going to be talking about how to find proportional relationships and what those are with respect to, oops, I don't want to record. With respect to tables and graphs. So proportional relationships, day one. Here's the deal. What I want you to do right away, you guys have this packet stuff. Right away I want you to read the situation with your partner, fill out the table, fill out these ratios, and answer this question. I'll give you about, you got a calculator, so it shouldn't take you long. I'll give you about 3, maybe 4 minutes to fill out the table, read the situation, fill out the table, write those ratios, and make a conclusion. Okay? So you have 3 minutes or so. So read it and go.
Hey, I got it.
All right.
Oh, wait, I did not get it. Oh, yeah, I did.
So as you were filling out for each number of pizzas in the boxes above, write a relationship of the cost as of the number of pizzas as a ratio in simplest form, right? So the first one was 8/1, the second one was 8/1, the third one was 8/1, the fourth one was 8/1, which should make sense, right? Based on what we've learned about proportions so far. All these ratios are equal. Every single one. Well, why? Why? Kobe?
They're all equivalent to 8/1.
Yeah, but why?
Because if you simplify them, because they're all multiple of 8/1.
Why?
Because you're just calculating it by the same both sides, the numerator and the denominator by different numbers.
I mean, how much does each pizza cost?
$8.
$8. So that would be called our unit cost, right? $8 what? Per pizza. So in each case, what would be the unit cost? Well, the unit cost is $8 per pizza for every single one of them. And that's what we're doing with proportions. Now, just a different approach to how we look at proportional relationships. And this is over on the right-hand side of your packet. So follow along with me on the right-hand side now. Two quantities are proportional if they have a constant ratio or unit rate. That word constant is important. What does constant mean? Parsupen? The same over a period of time. So as things change, if a situation has a constant unit rate or a constant rate of change, then it's going to be proportional. For relationships in which the ratio is not constant, two quantities are not proportional. We saw that with tables before, right? Where we were looking at the two tables and we were comparing the y to the x or the x to the y. And if it was the same value, well, it's because they were proportional. And the idea is the cost is proportional to the number of pizzas ordered. Did you guys hear that order? Did you hear the order that was just read? The cost is proportional to the number of pizzas ordered, which means that the cost is going to increase at the same amount of the number of pizzas ordered in the same ratio. Not the same amount, but in the same ratio. So, cost of the order, pizzas ordered. If I order 4 pizzas, it's going to be $32, right? If I order 2 pizzas, it's going to be $16. That relationship between cost and number of pizzas is proportional because they're all equivalent ratios. And we've learned this before. This is not a new thing for us. Just a different way of looking at it. But the idea is, if two quantities share this constant unit rate, this constant ratio, we're eventually going to call that word, we're actually going to call that the constant of proportionality. It's another term for this unit rate or constant ratio. We'll call it constant of proportionality in a little bit. If that ratio is constant, then these two quantities are proportional. Okay? Let's take a look at another example. So let's read along with me here. So this example is on the next page. We're literally just working through, okay? Just working through our packet. So we're talking about Andrew. It's on the same page?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, then we're on the same page. Andrew. We're talking about Andrew. Sorry about that. It's literally right there. All right, so we're talking about Andrew. Andrew earns $18 per hour mowing lawns. Is the amount, and notice the order here, is the amount of money he earns proportional to the number of hours. So is the amount of money he earns proportional to the number of hours? What is that question actually asking us? What did we just learn about this stuff? Aiden, you gotta give us a start.
How much money he earned?
Not exactly. We're not actually asking how much money he earns, because we don't care, right? We don't care about how much money he earns. What we are asking is it proportional? So what mathematically will we need to check? Look at the definition that we have at the top. What will we need to check mathematically? Ashley?
All the ratios are equivalent.
If all the ratios are equivalent. When it's asking, is the amount of money he earns proportional to the number of hours he spends mowing, it's really asking, are the ratios equivalent? And so we just look. Earnings over time. Notice the order, right? The amount of money he earns proportional to the hours he spends. So is 18 over 1 the same as 36 over 2? And in the example, we would say the answer is what? Is it? The answer is? And the class said? Yes. Is $54 over 3 the same? Yes, and that's because what's he getting paid? 18 per hour. So what would we call that number? That number is his unit rate. We're going to call that the constant of proportionality, or the unit rate. So, do letter A. Talk about it with your partner. Read letter A. Talk about it with your partner. Ready, set, go. When you explain your reasoning, just tell your partner what your reasoning is. I just tell them. Don't overthink this question, guys. Don't overthink it. Just use the definition that we have. What do you think? Is it proportional?
So in this case, if there's 200.
Is it proportional?
Every 48.
Look at the definition. What's the definition up at the top say? In order for something to be proportional, it has to have what? A constant ratio or constant unit rate, right? So what is the ratio here of notice the order, students to teachers? What is that ratio of students to teachers? 24 over 1, or 24 students per teacher, right? Is that ratio constant? Yeah, it doesn't. That's what it says. There are 2 homeroom teachers assigned for every 48 students. Every one, right? It's a constant ratio, so yes, they would be proportional because of that constant ratio, or that unit rate, or that constant of proportionality. Let's look at 2 more examples real fast. I say real fast because I want to show you one where it is and one where it isn't. Okay? Stephen, can you read out number 2 to us? Just read out the problem for us.
Camp tickets charge $7 per baseball game. Game tickets plus a $3 process fee per order. Is this the cost of an order proportional to the number of tickets explained?
Okay, notice the order, right? Cost proportional to the tickets. So is the cost proportional to the tickets? So we look at that. Let's compare the cost of the tickets. 10 over 1 is what? 10. 17 over 2 is not 10. So, is the cost proportional to the number of tickets ordered?
No.
No, why? Look at this situation. Why? Why is it not proportional? Is it Lolly?
Because it started off at 10, when it's in the 27.
Why did it start with 10?
Because they also added the processing.
That processing fee. What if there was no processing fee? What would it cost for one ticket? $7. How much would it cost for 2 tickets? How much would it cost for 3 tickets? How much would it cost for 4? So what's the problem in this? Why is it not proportional then? What makes it so that this situation is not a proportional relationship, Ashley?
Because 10 over 1 is $10 per ticket, but 17 over 2 is 8.
Well, we've got the numbers. Or we've got them. It's in your packet. We've got the numbers.
Those aren't proportional, they don't add up together.
But I'm thinking real world. So I love that you're looking at the numbers, and that's awesome. Because we're looking at the numbers, and the numbers prove they're not proportional. You're absolutely right. What in the real world will tell us that it's not going to be proportional then? Let's think about it for a second. Let's go back one more time. What if there was no processing fee? What would be the cost of the first ticket? What would be the cost of buying 2 tickets? What would be the cost of buying 3 tickets? 4 tickets? 10 tickets? Is that a proportional relationship? Why? It's $7 per ticket, right? That's the constant ratio. So what makes it so that this is not a proportional relationship? So, Lolly.
We had 3, and on 17 they didn't add 3.
Well, they did add the 3 because it would be $14 without that processing fee, right? We said 2 tickets would be $14. So, Jack, what am I trying to get you guys to recognize?
The constant.
What am I trying to get you to recognize as to why this situation is not proportional? What's messing up the numbers? The processing fee. There's a starting value of $3, right? That's not proportional. It's not a constant ratio. Remember, what's the change? What's the unit rate here? What's the unit rate? It's not 10. It's 7 because it's $7 per ticket, right? But that processing fee messes it up. It makes it so it's not proportional. So you'll be able to tell right away, just by looking at a situation, is there something you have to tack on? Yes or no? And that will tell you if it's proportional. So let's look at this one. Is this one proportional? All we have to do is do the division, right? So is the amount of sugar proportional to the amount of mix? So sugar to mix. Sugar to mix, half over 1 is half. 1 over 2 is half. And you do the division and you notice it's the same ratio, so yes, those are proportional. So we've already figured this out. This is not new for us. How do we prove what a unit rate is? You guys remember from before your quiz? How do you find a unit rate? You just use division, right? Isn't that what we're doing here? So how do we prove proportionality? We look for that division, right? We've done this stuff. This is not new for us, right? What's new for us is trying to think about it in terms of a real world context. With the concert tickets. I want you and your partner to do letter B. Okay, do letter B here. Read through it together. Do letter B. And then we're going to skip number 4 for a second. Fill in the table. Decide proportionality. Prove it. Read the situation. Prove it. So what do you notice? So what's up with this one, right? Why is it 140 in the balance here instead of 120?
Yeah, 20 each week.
Yeah, because after 1 week, she put another 20 bucks in, right? So why is it 140? Well, because at 0 weeks, how much money is in the bank? 120, right? So at 0 weeks, she'd have 120 bucks in the bank. So then after 1 week, she'd have 140, 160, 180. So is this proportional? And the answer to the question is her account balance, that's cost. Notice the order, right? So everything else was 1 over 140. What's this one going to be? It's going to be 140 over 1. Why? What's the question asking? Sandra said, is her account balance proportional to the number of weeks? Money over time. So notice the order is different of what we would compare. 140 over 1 is not 160 over 2, right? The ratios are not equal. Why? Why in this, why? In the real world situation, do you notice that Why would the ratios not be equal? She's adding 20 bucks every time. The unit rate would be 20 bucks, right? Why is it not proportional in this situation? Isn't she adding 20 bucks every time? Wouldn't that be proportional? I'm increasing by 20. What makes it so that this isn't a proportional relationship? Ashley?
She, in the very, at 0 weeks, she had already added 120.
Yeah, at 0 weeks she already had 120 bucks. Can't be proportional if you're starting with 120 bucks. It would be proportional if she started with 0, right? Well, let's dive into this a little bit more. Let's do some of our guided practice here, okay? We're going to skip number 4. You can read it in a little bit. But I want to go on to the guided practice here. So this is where I'm kind of walking you through and we're doing it together. The Vista Marina rents boats for 25 bucks per hour. In addition to the rental rate, there's a $12 charge for fuel. Use a table to determine the number of hours you rent the boat and to see if it's proportional to the total cost. So right away, I want you to look at this. Don't even start filling out the table. Is this going to be a proportional relationship or not?
No.
Why? Because you're right. The answer would be no. This is not going to be a proportional relationship. Why?
The one charge for fuel.
There's a fuel fee, which means that we're not going to start with $0, right? If I rent a boat for no hours, shouldn't I spend $0? But in this case, how much money am I going to have to spend if I rent it for no dollars? I'm going to have to spend 12 bucks no matter what, even if I don't take that boat out of the dock. So we can tell it's not going to be proportional because of that rental fee. Now I want us to explore that and actually do it. Okay? I want you guys, with your partner, to fill out this table. Give a reason as to why not, and then on number 2 as well. Okay? I want you to answer 1, 2, and 3. I'll be walking around giving you guys some guidance and some help. Okay? We'll check back together on these 2 problems in, let's go 4 minutes. 4 minutes on these.
And this one,
Now let's talk about it.
and this 1.7.
So these are the 2 I want to talk about.
25 or 20.
Here we go. So we notice
Good.
the table for number 1. Remember, we decided before we started that it was not going to be proportional, and because of that rental fee, right? It's not going to be $0. So why is it 62 for 2? Why is it $62 not $74? Anna?
Because, since it's $25 an hour, when you do it for 2 hours, 25 plus 25 is 50, and then you do the $12 for the 20.
Yeah. It's not 74. It's not 37 times 2. It's actually 25 times 2 plus the 12, like Anna just said. I bet you guys could write a 2-step equation for this problem.
So this should be
I bet you could.
25.7.
Can you picture it? I'm not asking you to write it now. Do you think you could write a 2-step equation for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right up there.
It'd be
Yeah.
12 plus 25x equals something.
It's yellow.
Yep. 25x because 25 would be our unit rate. Now here, all right, Jane's earnings is proportional, right? Matt's earnings is not. Why? Because the ratios are not equal, right? When you looked at price per hour, cost per hour, it looks from the beginning, right? Doesn't it look like they get paid the same amount? Doesn't it look like they both get paid 12 bucks an hour? Do they though?
No.
Jane gets paid 12 bucks an hour. He does not. Okay? He's not getting paid 12 bucks an hour. For Jane gets paid $12 per hour because it's the same ratio every time. So, to summarize, how do we show that 2 quantities are proportional? You look to see if they have a constant ratio, that constant ratio. We're going to call that the constant of proportionality. So if you want to tack that on there, we're going to be talking about that, the constant of proportionality. That's what that constant ratio is called. It has a name, it's called the constant proportionality. Now you don't need that for today, but we will need it later on. So we'll want to come back to that. So proportional relationships have a constant ratio, not proportional relationships do not. Okay?